The cell was cold, dimly lit, and eerily quiet. It wasn't the first time Ryland Shepard, captain of the Iron Fang, had found himself behind bars, but this was different. The Zilnari didn't believe in negotiations, mercy, or even a fair trial. The galaxy's self-proclaimed superior species didn't capture prisoners. They claimed trophies. Ryland glanced around the cell at his crew, 6 hardened pirates who'd followed him through thick and thin. Zane Hawke, his right-hand man, leaned casually against the wall, chewing on a toothpick. Eli Vargas was tinkering with a broken shard of metal, already scheming a way to escape. Across the room, Briggs, the team's muscle, stood like a statue, arms folded, his presence alone daring anyone to challenge him. The others, Kara, Mason, and Quinn, were equally restless, their eyes sharp with the kind of defiance that made them dangerous, even without weapons. "We've faced worse," Ryland muttered, breaking the silence. His voice was calm, steady, the kind of tone that made his crew believe in miracles. "Yeah," Zane quipped, flashing a grin. "But this time, our captors are 10 feet tall, glowing, and made of arrogance." Before Ryland could respond, the door to the cell hissed open, revealing 2 Zilnari guards. Their towering forms glowed faintly in the dim light, and their elongated limbs moved with a precision that spoke of genetic superiority. "You," one of them said, its voice mechanical and devoid of emotion, pointing at Ryland. "You will comply." "Funny," Ryland replied, his grin sharp enough to cut steel. "I don't usually do compliance." When Ryland refused to move fast enough for their liking, the Zilnari guards stepped forward, activating the sleek robotic combat units flanking them. The robots weren't just guards. They were living weapons, designed to subdue and punish. What the Zilnari didn't expect was a human response. Ryland's first move was a feint, sidestepping the guard's lunge and using the alien's momentum against it. With a twist of his body, he slammed the Zilnari into the nearest wall. The second guard activated a shock baton, but before it could strike, Briggs intercepted, grabbing the baton with his bare hands and delivering a punch that sent the alien stumbling backward. "Didn't your fancy genes come with reflexes?" Briggs growled. The robots moved next, their limbs whirring with deadly precision. Zane ducked under a swinging arm, grabbed the nearest chair, and smashed it into the bot's head. Sparks flew. Kara, agile and fast, leapt onto a robot's back, ripping wires from its exposed neck. "Not so indestructible now, are you?" she muttered. Within minutes, the guards and their robots lay in a heap on the floor. Ryland wiped blood from his lip, looking at his crew with a mixture of pride and resignation. "Well," he said, "now they're really going to hate us." The Zilnari Council convened within the hour. Their pristine chamber, lined with holographic projections of galactic conquests, hummed with tension. "These humans are dangerous," one council member hissed, its glowing eyes narrowing. "They defeated our guards with nothing but their fists and primitive instinct." "They're Deathworlders," another replied, the word dripping with disdain. "We should have expected such unpredictability." The head of the council, a towering Zilnari with a regal aura, raised a clawed hand for silence. "If they wish to act as savages, let us treat them as such. The arena will remind them of their inferiority." The council murmured in agreement. The arena wasn't just a punishment, it was a spectacle, a blood sport designed to entertain the Zilnari elite while ensuring no prisoner left it alive. The next morning, the humans were dragged into a massive chamber filled with the deafening roar of a crowd. The arena was a technological marvel, a perfect circle surrounded by tiers of seats filled with Zilnari spectators. The air buzzed with anticipation. Ryland and his crew stood in the center, their hands bound and their faces bruised but defiant. Above them, a booming voice echoed through the chamber. "Today, we witness the strength of the galaxy's self-proclaimed apex predators," the announcer declared, his tone mocking. "These humans, these Deathworlders, will face a series of trials to prove their worth, or perish trying." The crowd roared. Zane leaned toward Ryland, his voice low. Did he just call us apex predators? I kind of like that. Focus, Rylan muttered, scanning their surroundings. This isn't just punishment. It's a show. Then let's give them one, Briggs said, his voice like a growl. The bindings around their wrists snapped open, and the first round began. 20 robotic guards entered the arena, their sleek, deadly forms gleaming under the harsh lights. Rylan cracked his knuckles. All right, team, let's show them what Deathworlders can do. The robots attacked in perfect formation, their movements synchronized like a deadly dance. But humans didn't fight with precision. They fought with chaos. Briggs charged straight into the fray, using his sheer strength to rip one of the robots apart with his bare hands. Kara darted between the machines, her speed and agility turning her into a blur of motion. Zane climbed onto a fallen bot, ripping its arm free and using it as a makeshift club. Rylan directed his crew like a battlefield conductor, shouting orders and spotting weaknesses in the robot's design. Eli used his technical skills to hack into one bot system, turning it against its own kind. The crowd, initially dismissive, began to cheer. They had never seen such raw determination, such unorthodox tactics. As the last robot fell, the humans stood together, battered but victorious. The arena erupted in a mixture of shock and admiration. Above them, the Zilnari Council watched in uneasy silence. They're not just strong, one council member murmured. They're adaptable. And that, the head of the council said grimly, makes them dangerous. The humans barely had time to catch their breath before the gates of the arena opened again. The mechanical clinking of metal chains echoed ominously, followed by the deep, guttural growls of something alive, something hungry. Rylan glanced at his crew, all of them bloodied but standing firm. He motioned for them to hold formation. Eyes up, this isn't over. The Zilnari announcer's voice boomed across the arena. Behold, the finest predators from across the galaxy, beasts whose instincts have been honed over millennia. Let us see if the Deathworlders can endure nature's fury. From the shadows, massive alien creatures emerged. They were unlike anything the humans had ever seen, scaled monstrosities with razor-sharp claws, acidic saliva, and segmented tails that glowed faintly in the dim light. Their sizes varied, but all had one thing in common. They radiated death. The crowd roared with excitement. Bets were placed, cheers echoed, and the humans were, for the first time, unsure if they could win. They're bigger than I was expecting, Zane muttered, gripping a piece of metal scavenged from the remains of a robot. Good, Briggs growled, cracking his knuckles. Bigger target. Rylan's voice cut through the tension. We take them down together. No lone heroes. Watch their movements, exploit their patterns, and whatever you do, don't get bitten. The beasts attacked with primal ferocity. One lunged at Mason, its acidic saliva sizzling as it missed him by inches. Mason rolled to the side, slamming a sharpened piece of robot plating into its underbelly. The creature screeched, its tail whipping wildly. Kara darted between two predators, using her agility to confuse them. She climbed onto one's back, wrapping a chain around its neck and tightening until the beast collapsed. Not so tough when you can't breathe, huh? She muttered. Meanwhile, Briggs wrestled a beast twice his size, using his brute strength to pin its jaws shut before shoving it into another predator. Get in line, he bellowed. Eli, always resourceful, found a way to use the environment to their advantage. Spotting a weak support beam above the arena, he climbed swiftly and dislodged a chunk of metal, sending it crashing onto one of the predators. The humans fought with everything they had, their natural adrenaline and unpredictability turning the battle into a chaotic spectacle. The crowd, initially bloodthirsty, began to chant for the humans, their admiration growing with every beast that fell. As the last predator collapsed, Rylan stood at the center of the arena, his chest heaving. Around him, his crew regrouped, battered but alive. The crowd erupted in cheers, chanting the word Deathworlders like a rallying cry. Above the arena, the Zilnari Council observed the humans with growing discomfort. They're thriving, one council member said, their glowing eyes narrowing. This was supposed to break them. "It's impossible," another hissed. "No species should be capable of such improvisation. These Deathworlders are defying every expectation." The head of the council, a towering figure with a regal demeanor, leaned forward. "Then we escalate. Send in the Guardians. If they survive this, we will have no choice but to eliminate them entirely." The arena gates opened once more, and a hushed anticipation fell over the crowd. From the shadows emerged the Zilnari's elite Guardian robots, sleek humanoid machines equipped with advanced AI and an arsenal of lethal weaponry. Their movements were precise, calculated, and far deadlier than the prison guards the humans had faced before. "Looks like they brought out the big guns," Zane muttered, gripping his makeshift weapon tighter. Ryland surveyed the machines, noting their synchronized movements and glowing cores. "They're programmed for perfection," he said. "But perfection has blind spots. Let's find them." The Guardians moved in unison, their weapons firing plasma bolts that scorched the arena floor. The humans scattered, each of them using their unique skills to outmaneuver the machines. Kara used her speed to lure one robot into a trap, tricking it into stepping onto a weakened section of the arena floor. The robot's weight caused it to collapse into the pit below. Briggs went head-to-head with one of the machines, using a piece of fallen debris as a shield. When the robot overextended, he drove its own plasma blade into its chest, sparks flying as it crumpled. Eli hacked into one of the Guardians mid-battle, forcing it to turn on its counterparts. "Two can play at the AI game," he muttered, his fingers flying over a scavenged control pad. Despite their overwhelming firepower, the robots struggled to counter the humans' chaotic strategies. One by one, they fell, leaving the crowd roaring with approval. As the final robot collapsed, the humans stood victorious once again. Bloodied, bruised, and exhausted, they raised their fists in defiance, their bond stronger than ever. The crowd's chants echoed through the arena. "Deathworlders! Deathworlders!" Above them, the Zilnari Council watched in silence. "They've turned this into a spectacle," one council member hissed. "The crowd is on their side." The head of the council's mandibles clicked in frustration. "Then we leave them no chance. In the final round, they will face our most advanced creations and our best warriors. Let's see how their chaos fares against perfection." The humans stood in the center of the arena, battered and bruised, their breaths coming in ragged gasps. Around them, the crowd's chants of Deathworlders echoed like a pulse, growing louder with every passing second. But Rylan wasn't focused on the noise. His attention was locked on the next gate, where the final round awaited. "They're not holding back this time," Zane muttered, leaning heavily on a piece of metal scavenged from the last fight. His usual grin was gone, replaced by grim determination. "They haven't been holding back," Kara said, her voice tight as she tightened the makeshift bandage on her arm. "Whatever's coming next, it's going to be worse." "We've faced worse," Ryland said, though even he couldn't ignore the unease settling in his gut. Above them, the announcer's voice boomed through the arena. "And now, for the grand finale, the Deathworlders will face a challenge unlike any other. Our most advanced AI warriors combined with the skill of our elite guards. This is perfection versus chaos. Let us see which prevails." The gates creaked open, and the arena fell silent. The first thing to emerge was a line of sleek, humanoid robots. Their forms were impossibly elegant, every movement a display of deadly precision. Their glowing cores pulsed with energy, and the weapons in their hands hummed with restrained power. Then came the guards, Zilnari warriors clad in advanced combat armor, each carrying weapons designed to end a fight in seconds. These weren't the same guards the humans had faced before. These were elites, trained for centuries in tactics and combat. "Great," Zane said, hefting his makeshift weapon. "They brought the overachievers." Rylan raised his hand, signaling for the team to tighten their formation. "Stick together. Watch each other's backs. If we go down fighting." The robots struck first, their plasma bolts lighting up the arena in streaks of blue and gold. The humans scattered, dodging the initial onslaught with practiced reflexes. Rylan barked orders, directing his crew to divide the enemy forces and exploit their weaknesses. Kara darted through the chaos, drawing the attention of two robots. She slid under one's legs, slicing at its joints with a sharp piece of debris, sending it toppling to the ground. "Perfection, my ass," she muttered. Briggs charged straight at a Zilnari guard, using sheer brute force to disarm them before delivering a bone-crushing blow. Another guard rushed him, but Zane intercepted, slamming a stolen weapon into the alien's chest. Eli hacked into one of the robots mid-combat, rerouting its targeting system to fire on the Zilnari guards. "You'd think they'd have better firewalls," he said with a smirk. The Zilnari warriors fought back fiercely, their advanced weapons and superior training making every exchange a deadly gamble. One guard caught Mason with a plasma blade, leaving a deep gash across his side. He gritted his teeth and fought on, using his injury as bait to lure the guard into a trap Briggs had set. As the battle raged on, Quinn, the team's scout, found herself surrounded by 3 robots. She managed to disable 2, but the third struck her with a devastating blow, sending her sprawling to the ground. Blood pooled beneath her, and Rylan's shout of "Quinn" echoed across the arena. The rest of the crew fought their way to her side, but it was too late. Her last words were a whisper, carried only to Rylan. "Finish this." The loss sent a wave of fury through the team. They fought with renewed ferocity, turning every ounce of grief into calculated destruction. The crowd, now fully on their side, roared louder than ever, their chants drowning out even the sound of the battle. While the rest of the team held the line, Rylan and Zane broke away, moving toward the upper levels of the arena. They had noticed something during the fight, an observation deck where the Zilnari Council sat, watching the carnage with smug detachment. Using the chaos as cover, the 2 humans scaled the arena walls, slipping past distracted guards. When they reached the observation deck, they found exactly what they were looking for, the council members laughing and sneering as they discussed how to stack the odds against the humans. "Pathetic creatures," one council member said. "The crowd's fascination is meaningless. We'll end them after this round." Another councillor snorted. "Let them cheer. They'll buy tickets to any spectacle, no matter how rigged." Rylan and Zane exchanged a glance before activating the recording device Eli had rigged earlier. With a press of a button, the council's words were broadcast to every screen in the arena. The crowd fell silent as the council's treachery played out for all to hear. Murmurs of anger rippled through the stands, growing louder with every passing second. When the recording ended, the arena erupted, not with cheers, but with shouts of outrage directed at the council. Rylan's voice boomed over the arena's speakers. "This is your so-called justice. This is your spectacle. Let the galaxy see the truth." The crowd turned on the council, their chants of Deathworlders, now a rallying cry for rebellion. With the crowd on their side, the humans rallied for one final push. They dismantled the remaining robots and guards, standing victorious as the arena erupted in chaos. The Zilnari Council fled in disgrace, their authority shattered. The humans, bloodied but unbroken, stood together in the center of the arena, their victory a symbol of defiance. The dust had barely settled in the arena, and the chants of Deathworlders still echoed through the stands. Rylan and his crew stood at the center of the chaos, bruised, battered, and missing one of their own. Yet, despite their exhaustion, they stood tall, heads held high as the crowd erupted in cheers of support. Above them, the Zilnari Council fled the observation deck, their authority shattered by the recording Rylan and Zane had broadcast to the entire arena. The holographic displays continued to loop the Council's damning words, enraging the spectators further. "This isn't just a victory," Zane muttered to Rylan, his voice grim but steady. "It's a spark." Rylan nodded, his gaze sweeping over the sea of alien faces. "A spark needs fuel. Let's make sure it doesn't burn out." The Zilnari spectators, once eager to see the humans fail, now roared their defiance at the council. Some leapt from their seats, storming the exits to block the guards from taking control. Others began tearing down the Zilnari banners that adorned the arena, replacing them with crude symbols of rebellion scrawled on scraps of cloth. One alien, a crystalline Varnix, stepped forward, raising their voice above the din. "These humans have shown us the truth. The Council has lied to us, used us as pawns for their cruelty. No more." The crowd roared in agreement. Rylan regrouped with the crew in the center of the arena. They were bloodied and missing Quinn, but the fire in their eyes burned brighter than ever. "We can't stay here," Kara said, scanning the arena exits. "The Council's going to send reinforcements, and this crowd won't hold them off forever." Eli held up a small device he had scavenged during the fight. "Good thing I hacked into their communications grid earlier. There's a hangar on the west side of the complex. If we can get there, we'll have a shot at stealing a ship." "Then we move," Rylan said, his voice firm. "We're not just escaping. We're starting something bigger." The humans pushed through the chaotic arena, using the cover of the rebellious crowd to evade the Zilnari guards. Along the way, they were joined by several aliens who had been inspired by their defiance. A feathered Ralvarian named Tarek approached Briggs, their wings fluttering nervously. "You fought with honor," they said. "I wish to help." Briggs grunted in acknowledgement, handing Tarek a plasma rifle scavenged from a fallen guard. "Stick close. Don't get killed." The group grew as they moved, forming a makeshift alliance of humans and aliens united against the Zilnari. Reaching the hangar, the group encountered heavy resistance. Elite Zilnari guards and automated turrets blocked their path, but the humans and their new allies fought with everything they had. Rylan and Zane took the lead, flanking the enemy forces and dismantling the turrets with precision shots. Kara and Eli used their agility and technical skills to disable the hangar's security systems, opening the path to the waiting ships. "Get to the ship," Rylan shouted, covering their retreat as Briggs and Mason held the rear. As the group boarded the stolen vessel, the Zilnari guards made one last desperate push. Rylan turned, locking eyes with the lead guard. "This isn't over," he said, before slamming the hatch shut. The stolen ship lifted off, its engines roaring as it shot into the sky. From the windows, Rylan and his crew watched the arena shrink in the distance. Below, the rebellion they had sparked continued to spread, with alien spectators pouring into the streets, tearing down Zilnari banners and taking up arms. Eli grinned as he tapped into the ship's communications system. "I'm patching this into every channel in the sector. Let's make sure the galaxy hears about this." The recording of the Council's treachery, combined with footage of the humans' victory, was broadcast across Zilnari space. Within hours, word of the rebellion began to spread to neighboring systems. As the ship broke through the planet's atmosphere, Rylan turned to his crew. "We didn't just win a fight," he said. "We started something bigger. The Zilnari think they're untouchable, but we just showed the galaxy what happens when you push back." Zane leaned against the control panel, smirking. "You know this means we're public enemy number one now, right?" "Good," Rylan replied, a spark of defiance in his eyes. "Let them come." Behind him, the crew and their new alien allies exchanged determined glances. They weren't just running, they were fighting for something bigger than themselves. The rebellion ignited by the humans spread like wildfire. Across Zilnari-controlled systems, oppressed species rose up, inspired by the Deathworlders who had defied the impossible. In the shadows, the Zilnari Council regrouped, their once unshakable rule now fractured. "The humans must be eliminated," the head of the council snarled, "before they destroy everything we've built." But the humans weren't just fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting for freedom, and they weren't alone.